Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're checking out By the Beat with their original song Satellite. I'm ready to jump in. Let's hit play in three, two, one, play.
Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah, yeah. We satellite. I gotta feel it. Say, can you feel it?
Okay,
It's in the air tonight. We'll take you for a ride. Come on and get
nice,
up and move your body to the rhythm. It's too late.
nice. Pull out those bass tones. Nice, I like that. Mm, okay, okay, nice. All right, I like that. Okay, that was a smooth transition there into it. Sounded like that was like a rap segment. Um, okay, we're almost like halfway through the song, so let's take a look at what we hear. So far, it's very kind of like standard pop boy band esque. I suppose it is a boy band. But I'm enjoying the variety of their voices. The voices are very different. And surprisingly like pretty high pitched and very stable in that high pitch on some of them. I don't know all their names. We've heard zeal. I'm not familiar with the others, but I'm really enjoying how we're playing with the mix here. I do think the lyricism is a little weird because I do assume that these are being written in Japanese and then translated, or having a non-native speaker write the English lyrics just from the way they're presented here. It does sound a little odd in terms of like the flow of the lyrics, but I think that's a pretty common thing across a lot of VTuber groups. um but aside from that's more of a composition or more sort of like a songwriting thing. In terms of the vocalists and the instrumentation, it's really it suits their voices very well, but it is very simple in the presentation of the instrumentation. So I don't think the instrumentation is doing anything particularly like innovative, but I do think that it's highlighting their voices very well, which is the main goal of the song, right? And so in that sense, I think we're seeing a lot of success there in how the song's being presented. Okay, I like that. I really like that. And the slowdown on the percussion and everything, that was beautiful. Nice. I like those vocal supports there. I like that. Hmm. Nice. All right. I really like his voice there. I do think it's possible that I'm not sure if he's pushing his range or if he's doing that intentionally, where he's kind of constricting his voice just a tiny bit. But the timbre of his voice there is beautiful. Like it's very delicate, but it doesn't feel weak, and that's hard to do. It sounds really pleasant on the ears, and it's still a change in vocal demeanor from the previous line, even though we are still in that treble tonality, high pitch. And I think the breathiness definitely helps there. Okay, big switch up here. Nice. You can sustain that a little more, but that was still really good. Okay, okay, we have follow up. There we go. Nice. Nice,
I've got this
nice. Oh,
dream.
ads. But yeah, that was really really nice. I think the song's a little bit cliched admittedly in terms of composition, but I think that the vocals and how everything's organized, it's really pretty in terms of just how everything comes together. We are gonna do another listen through where I'm gonna be pausing more. But I want to say I'm noticing that uh, both the Zeal song and this original song, they are both less than 3 minutes. So I'm I'm a little bit surprised about that because I would have thought, especially for a group song, we would have probably wanted to push a little longer. But I don't think that they made the wrong choice by having it like this, especially with this composition. Because I think if we had added another set of like another chorus progression there at like just like another chorus, even just another chorus segment, I think it would have been a little too repetitive. But I think this was just the right amount to feel, varied. It felt fresh every time we had a different segment. And, I never felt like tired or anything of what I was hearing. It always felt um, very fresh for each segment of the song, which is always nice. The vocals were very like it's not necessarily varied between members except for this one part here. I'd say each member was pretty consistent in what they were showing for the song, but as a group song, I think this was a really nice way of showing the difference between their voices. And we kind of used, I believe it was Zeal that we used kind of like this, like a color instrument almost, where we kind of use his voice as to juxtapose the more treble based vocals. And I think that was a nice choice. And especially with the timbre of his voice, it's a little more direct. It's less breathy than the others, I feel. And I think that using that as sort of that mid-tone support is a very nice way to kind of cover all your bases in the mix. Not bass tones, but your bases in the mix. So yeah, let's give this another listen, and I'm gonna pause a little bit more and try to pick up on some more things in the mix.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah, so, like even here, I'm already pausing. We're using this. We have like very little bass support, little to no bass support in the instrumentation here, and we're using Zeal's voice to supplement that, just for that introduction already.
Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah, yeah. We satellite. I got a feeling. Say, can you feel it?
And then here you can those bass tones come in, and we introduce the treble based vocal track. I already said this, but I do feel like the lyrics are a little bit the vocalists, I feel like they're trying to accommodate the lyrics more than the lyrics are strengthening the vocalists, which I think with a lot of translated lyrics or a lot of like non-native written lyrics, I think that's a pretty common pattern. But it is something that I feel like a lot of like group songs and stuff, not just in Niji, but like in a lot of VTuber groups, I think a lot of them would benefit if they had some sort of native lyric writer, because it really helps to understand the flow of the language and also be a little less repetitive in your lyric writing, right? Because it helps showcase your vocals. It really does, and it's very noticeable when the vocalists are trying to accommodate what's already been written.
We satellite. I got a feeling. Say, can you feel it? It's in the air tonight. We'll take you for a ride. Come on and get.
I like that we have standard treble vocal and bass vocal support. Though I like like I said, the timbre of their voices is very, very pleasant. It's a lot of breathiness in the tracks here. It feels very like I don't want to say like it's maybe like 2010s like boy band kind of it's a very soft, feel good song.
In the air tonight. We'll take you for a ride. Come on and get up and move your body to the rhythm. It's too late.
All right, pull out those bass tones. Like this right here, it feels very like 2010s, where we pull out those bass tones, we have that synth progression, and then we're matching the vocal emphasis with the synth in the back. And then that digital percussion for the build up there. And again, using Zeal as to kind of juxtapose, because it feels like all the other vocalists here are a bit more covering those higher pitches, and aside from that one segment later on in the song there, it feels like for the most part Zeal is kind of covering all our lower more bass tonalities, and not necessarily all of them, but that's mainly his role in the song, I feel.
Welcome to a world that's time, so ready, set, go. Just like a satellite, we're spinning round all night. Oh yeah, we just wanna let go, just let go. Just like a satellite, nothing can stop us now. Oh yeah, we can't stop the feeling. Tonight we're satellite.
Nice.
Baby, come on.
I will say, I think obviously this part here is kind of, it's a call and response, and trying to use, this kind of segment here almost like a pedal tone, right? And we're coming back to it to make the song more catchy, but also create, the back and forth as we highlight each vocalist, right? I do think, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the composition here is just a little bit too standard, I feel, for a set of very, very talented vocals. I think the vocal lineup here, I think it could, the song is, it's not a bad song or anything, but I do think the complexity of the tracks is not matching up to the quality of the vocals we have here. The vocalists here, I feel, have a lot more room to show off than necessarily the style of song. And I'm not saying this style of song is bad, but I'm saying for a vocal showcase where you're introducing all the vocalists, I think it's okay if we sacrifice some of that catchiness for more complexity that allows us to show off, maybe some more of the runs. They can do some of the switch ups in their vocal demeanor, things like that, which really stand out. It may not necessarily benefit in terms of how many streams the song itself gets, but I think in terms of introducing the talents and increasing the popularity and interest in their vocals, I think it would really be beneficial to add some more complexity, and maybe even sacrificing some of the segments like this where we have those pedal tones and call and response. And it is obviously a personal preference thing as well, right? Because a lot of people do prefer having that catchiness, and they'd prefer, listening to a song like this rather than having a less catchy but more complex track that's maybe harder to follow, right? But I really do think as a vocal showcase, when you're introducing your vocalist, you want something that maybe sacrifices some of those segments like that.
Can't stop us now. Oh yeah, we can't stop the feeling. Tonight we're satellite. Baby, come on. 심파이 뭐 후안 뭐. Baby. moving us to let them. Baby, come on. 기대의 마음대로 신대. 지유분이 날라. Tonight we're satellite. I wanna leave it all for tomorrow. Don't you worry about a thing. 애가오가 묻어를 연해. Yeah, we do it always. Buckle up with us. Time to come and rock it.
All right.
And move your body to the rhythm.
Yeah, I like those transitions. I will say the transitions in the song are amazing. I really like how smooth everything is. And having that more synthetic aspect of it makes it easier to carry in tracks from one segment to the next as well. But I really do think the transitions are super smooth on this.
Always buckle up with us, time to come back and get up and move your body to the rhythm. It's too late. 踊り明かそう星の
Mm.
下でリズムに身を任せて
Right, like the segments like this where we have this is very similar to how we introduced the segment before where we pull out those bass tones, just pulse those treble bass synths, and then we have the treble based vocal as well to emphasize the switch up into the next segment, right? But I think just parts like this, it's okay to sacrifice for having more runs and stuff. Which like I said, it's sacrificing some of that catchiness for some of that complexity.
身を任せて Yeah, never let it go of this life. Come and dance away all your doubts. Welcome to our world, this time so ready, set, go. Just like a satellite, we're spinning round all night. Oh yeah, we just wanna let go, just let go. Just like a satellite, nothing can stop us now. Oh yeah, we can't stop the feeling. Tonight we're satellites.
I really like this part. I think this guy here, he definitely got some really nice. I'd say he might actually be the most showcased member in this song, because not only does he introduce this switch up here, but he also introduces the kind of like rap-esque switch up earlier on as well. I'm not sure exactly where it was. I want to say around here, but I'd say he got some really nice, because we got to see a lot of differences, right? We not only got his slower, more legato vocals, but we also got his standard segments where he's a little more breathy, faster paced, and then we got that rap esque where he's lower down, and we also got when he layered with the another member. I don't know their names, I'm sorry, not yet, but another member where he had like he was the bass vocal in the supporting track there. And so we're getting a lot of this guy in the red here. We're seeing a lot of his vocals, and I really like his voice as well. I can see why. It's a very versatile voice, right? Because we're not only getting more of the faster, velocity air where he's more direct and projecting more. We're also getting the softer, breathier aspects of his voice. And then we're also getting just compositionally, right, where we're getting that rap segment as well. It's a lot of showcase on his voice, and I really like that. I do wish we got a little more of that just on the other members, and I'm not saying that it's not there right now. I'm not saying like it's completely absent for all the members or anything. Um, but I think it's things like that where these are moments. These switch ups are moments where we could have had a catchier like referenced melody or something, but having these moments here is what really stands out and sticks with you, I think. um so yeah, I think in terms like this, obviously is also personal preference on the balance between how catchy you want the song and how much complexity there is. So I'm not saying that they did a bad job at all. I think the song is amazing. But I do think that adding more of segments like this and switch ups like this would have been more effective as an introduction to all of these vocalists.
Just like a satellite, nothing can stop us now. Oh yeah, we can't stop the feeling. Tonight we're satellites. 目に描く自由なひとときを Get into the flow. We bring a magic show. Take my hand and follow us up to the just like a satellite. We're spinning round all night. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We just wanna let go.
I really like that. Like that moment there was beautiful. I love that, and but I do think it's a little weird how it cuts out but I like that we didn't abandon it. We pick up on that higher vocal there, and we do a run with it, which was it's exactly what I wanted. It's a little weird that we didn't sustain through that segment there, but we still did pick up on it. We didn't abandon that trail of thought right there, and I really do like that. Nice. All right. Nice. I like that little we have like a little it's very short, but that little instrumentation delay to emphasize that impact that comes in. That was really nice. Right there. I love that. That was really nice. We have like that little pause and then it comes in after the vocals have already introduced. That was really nice. Right there. I love that. Yeah. This was I don't want to sound like I'm being too critical of the song. I realize I'm kind of nitpicking and everything a lot. I don't want to make it sound like I didn't like the song. This was an awesome performance from all of them, and I really do like the composition. They're just like little personal preference nitpicks that I'm giving because that's kind of the point of a reaction, right? Is giving my opinion, my 2 cents on everything. But yeah, this was really awesome. This was an excellent vocal showcase from all of them, and I really like the instrumentation. I don't think I don't want to make it sound like I think the instrumentation is simple or the composition isn't like up to par or anything. I think they're all doing an awesome job, the production team and the vocalists. But it's just personal preference. I do think that there's more, as with everything, there's always room to improve, right? And improve not necessarily objectively. It's just a subjective opinion from what I think, what I would personally change to showcase the vocalists. But I also have to consider, right, that not might not always be the intended purpose of the song itself as well, right? Because they also have their own original covers and their their own individual covers and their own original songs and productions. So this song might not necessarily be intended to be a widespread vocal showcase. It may just be a group debut song that they wanted to they're making it for streams as well as showcasing the vocals, but not necessarily one more than the other or something like that. There's obviously the priority of the song during its composition phase isn't necessarily what my perceived uh, opinion of it is, right? So I think the song itself is still it still did an amazing job, and I really did enjoy it. I do think that um, there's a little bit. I do wish we had a little bit more room for showcasing like each individual vocalist, and not that we didn't, but having a little bit more of sort of solo segments to kind of showcase their vocal runs and stuff a little bit more. And we did have that, but I just a little bit more would have been nice. But if they all have their own individual productions and stuff, then that might not necessarily be that might not be necessary. So sorry, I'm tripping over my words a lot. But yeah, this was a really awesome song. I really do enjoy this. Um, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I do think the lyrics are not necessarily like it just it feels a little weird, right? There doesn't feel like there's like a progression, or not progression, but there's not really a development necessarily that I can see anywhere. It feels very much like the lyrics were made like after the composition of the instrumentation and everything, and then the vocals were fit to the lyrics. Is kind of how it sounds to me, which it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does feel a little awkward. And usually I don't pay too much attention to the lyrics, at least for these reactions and stuff. But it can kind of throw off uh, the song a little bit to me sometimes because it's the vocals do in a sense need to match the lyrics, right? And when the lyrics don't showcase the vocals in the context of the composition, it can be a little weird, or feel too repetitive, or kind of feel like the song isn't really going anywhere. Um, which is okay sometimes, but it can be a little off-putting at other times. And I don't think this song did a bad job at all. And having these switch ups, like that rap segment and that slowdown around here, it definitely helps avoiding falling into those pitfalls of the song isn't going anywhere, because it adds that variety in the composition as a whole, and it gives it the song those moments to anticipate and react to, right? So yeah, overall, I think the song was really awesome. I had some nitpicks, but I don't want to make it sound like I didn't like the song or anything. I think the song was awesome. Did an amazing job for all of them. So yeah, thank you very much for recommending that I check this out. And as always, feel free to recommend more things for me to check out in the comments below. Aside from that, I will see you all next time. Thanks so much.